So I had my breakthrough. Felt like this failure. Dante had did some wild stuff. I'm not putting him out on John Street. Even though he done passed away, I still believe in the street code to a certain degree. And he had did some wild shit. So his his stepmom know, and my sister in law, she definitely knows. Um, that he did some wild stuff, and probably his sister. But that one right there, that definitely put me that broke me. That broke me. On top of, I actually had all this other stuff flooding in for me. That was my own stuff, and what he did, he didn't do it to me. This was something he did that affected him. But however, because I cared about him, it affected me. And it affected everybody that knew him. So, that knew he had did it. Like, yeah, I think his cousins know too. Now that I think about it, like we all know. But, yeah, that one sent me into the hospital, and then I ended up getting help. Cause he took me and I got help. Then he told me, because I was transparent with the people and he saw me being strong and telling my truth, like he was gonna go get help. So he ended up going to the hospital. But the thing about him is he never wanted to believe that he suffered from mental health issues, even though he suffered from them severely. A lot of people who are struggling with addiction, whether it be drugs and substances, like if it's food, shopping, gambling, whatever your vice is, like if you have an out of control addiction, typically that's a sign that you're suffering from something. You're suffering from something traumatic, or you're suffering from some type of mental health issue, and you're self-medicating. You're doing those things because they make you feel good, and then eventually they don't make you feel good anymore, and you just got a habit of doing them, or you get a little incentive to do it. You're here and there, and so you just stuck doing it. So I do not judge addiction whatsoever, because we all have our vices. Some of us, we have control of some, whatever we got. Like, I struggle with a cigarette addiction. That, like, that don't make me no better. Like, I used to be like, well, why people, can't stop smoking, crack and stuff like that. Like, now, I look at that shit like, well, I was addicted to cigarettes. I can only imagine what somebody on crack feel like, because God dang, that was a hard addiction to kick, and I'm still not out of the water yet. But I've quit numerous of times, but it does feel like this time is my last go round, I hope and pray. But yeah. Addiction. Okay, so yeah, he went and got help, and I think he ended up seeing somebody he knew in the hospital, and that kind of made him feel ashamed. But I would see, like, even like with his stepmom, like one time she was an intake when I went in the hospital, because I went in the hospital numerous of times, because like I literally, that's how bad off I felt. Like, I needed help. I needed help bad. Couldn't nobody help me. I didn't know how to help myself. I just was stuck with all this stuff, and I did not know what to do with it, because I was always told to pull yourself up by the bootstrap and keep it moving. But when you keep doing that and you're not addressing the things that's happening, the stuff is gonna catch up with you eventually. So you have to deal with it. You have to face it. I would go years of being medicated on and off, and I hated it. Some people need medicine, some people don't. I'm one of the people that I hate medication. I do not want to walk around feeling like a zombie. However, for people who have to take medication just to feel stable and it works for you, do what you got to do for you. Everybody is different. I advocate for medicine, and I also advocate for holistic approach healing. Holistic healing worked for me, and also, believing in a higher power. I will say this though. When people are going through mental health issues, please stop throwing religion at them at that time. While they're in a crisis state, or while they're going through it really bad, like, sometimes religion just isn't enough. For me, it always clicked that I had to rely on God. I say this to this day that, I was praying during those times. I have to attribute, me still being here because I was praying constantly. However, during my prayer, it did not relieve any of the pain I was going through because I was constantly going through abuse. Plus, I had the abuse that I did not deal with. On top of, I'm just going through abusive cycle after abusive cycle over and over again. So sometimes, religion just is not enough. Sometimes it takes another person to see another person going through those things and feeling validated in that experience. So validation is a big one. Just validating somebody's experience is helpful. Because I will say, like, I met so many dope people who their parents or family members would be like, pray to God, pray to Jesus, like, and it just didn't work for them at the time. And they weren't bad people, and they actually did have a religion and a faith. It's just that they were really, 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 really going through it, and they needed help. So getting help, I feel like getting help plus religion had definitely saved my life. My daughter saved my life. Having that purpose, something for me to live for, saved my life. Now I actually feel like, I don't even need all these things to save my life. Now I love myself, and I'm enough to fight for myself. I love my daughter, and I'm grateful that she was a purpose that had me fighting for my life. But why didn't I see that I should have fought for my own life, period? Like, I'm worthy of it. Like, I'm worthy of that. So self-esteem would play a big part into why I would keep going through abuse and abuse and abuse and abuse over and over again. So yeah, I would go to the hospital multiple times. He would probably, I think out of our relationship, he went twice. And he would go to the hospital for like stuff outside of mental health, due to his drug addiction. That was a tough time for me too. One time he got really he got like an infection in his collarbone, and also like when he got the infection, it messed up his rotary cuff or something. It's something in his. It made it like he didn't have mobility in his arm movements. So in my 20s, I'm being a caretaker, and I say this with my face scrunched up. Like, no, I never felt like I should have been a caretaker in my 20s to my partner. Like, that's something we supposed to be thinking about, later on down the road. Like, I had to wash him because he couldn't move his arm. So like he could wash parts of this side, but he couldn't get everything. So I used to have to like help him wash. It was just horrible. Like, help him put his clothes on. Like, I went through it, and I got mad. Like, I was really upset about that. Like, so yeah, sometimes I was like really harsh with him, and I feel like, don't get it twisted. If he would have injured himself in an accident or some other type of positive reason, I wouldn't have felt that way. I felt like that because, you were doing something that, number one, I've verbalized over and over again, like I don't like. And I'm saying this, and I'm going to keep reiterating this. This doesn't mean that I judge people that do it or have this issue. Like, I got love for you. My heart goes out to you. I understand. It's not as easy as 1, 2, 3. Like, I get it. However, which I fail to realize too, some of y'all, is that when you get high, you taking your trip. You're escaping from reality. But the people that love you, they are the ones who are hurting from this because they're watching the person that they love kill themselves slowly. We're watching a slow death happen. We're watching you hurt yourself. We're watching all this unfold, and we have no control over it. We know that you need us, and you take advantage of us needing. You take advantage of us knowing that you need us, which most of us become enablers to you, which is an unhealthy relationship. It's very parasitic because you're taking and you're not giving anything back. And we're not getting numbed out by medicine, or we're not able to escape because we're not self-medicating. We're living life raw squirrel, and you're getting to escape and only have to deal with reality when you choose to, whereas when we have to deal with our reality plus yours. And so I say that he basically, injured himself from doing drugs, and it was like it wasn't fair to me. Like, I'm in my 20s, like, why am I giving sponge baths in my 20s and I'm not a nurse? So that happened. There was also times where his legs, oh my gosh, his legs had turned completely like black. I begged him to go to the hospital, but he would not. And usually I could get him to go to the hospital, but I think he was so ashamed. I thought he was going to lose his legs. And he would not let me see them when it was happening, but I could tell something was wrong with his legs. And one night, when he went to sleep, like, I checked, and I was just like, I was in shock. Like, it looked like frostbite, and like black. Like, I just thought like he was gonna lose them. So like he went through a whole lot. He went through a whole lot with that, and whatever he went through, I went through it as well. Like, because I loved him and I was attached to him, and it was hard to watch that happen. And so, like, on and off, I would struggle with mental health issues. I'm not sure what he told everybody else, but, like, I was severely not myself. Anybody who knew me, I had pulled away from just about everybody but my mom and my oldest sister, or my closest sister, because I think my other sister older than her. But, yeah, my closest sister, I pulled away from her on and off. My mom, that's another thing I want to address. Like, my mom hated him so much that she began to turn against me because I wouldn't leave him. So, like, she would again take her frustration out on me. She would, belittle me or be hateful, or just like, it was just, she was so upset that I was with him that she couldn't control projecting how she felt onto me. And it was like, so not only was I getting abused by him, I was getting abused by my mom at this point. So I would like to tell people, and I know she didn't mean to do that. I know that wasn't her intentions. That's just how she felt. However, I would like to tell, like, parents and loved ones or friends of people, be careful how you're talking to people when you know they're in a fucked up relationship. Like, just because you don't agree with what's going on, like, it is better for you to step away and say, hey, look, I don't agree with the decisions you're making. I'm here for you when you're ready. That is the best thing you probably can do, is if you can't control your mouth and how you feel, because the person that's getting abused do not need to be abused by you, and they don't need that guilt and pressure, that sometimes family members give, thinking that they're helping the situation, but you're not. Like, I know a lot of times too, I would continue to stay with him just out of the simple fact that I was going to prove that I was going to make my family work, just because I was told so negatively that it wasn't going to work, and that, he won't this and he won't that. And I'm like, well, you don't know him like I know him. So, like, it became this point where I got defensive and I wanted to protect him. Yeah, that's kind of crazy on my end, but at the same token, if you don't do that to that person, you allow them to figure out, what's wrong quicker. But if you're constantly, like, throwing stones at the other person, usually the victim is going to take up for them, because, they don't want you talking about their person. They don't mind talking about them, but they don't want everybody else talking about them. So I definitely dealt with a rift in me and my mom's relationship, which we were always close, and we still are going to be always close. Like, but I did learn that like my mom need to have several seats in my life, like that in all actuality, she hated him so much, but like I felt like they had a lot of similar ways, and similarities. She would kill me if I said that to her, because she don't like when I say that. But the truth is the truth. If the shoe fit, where my daughter father was my father, and Dante was similar to my mom, like, and yeah, my mom, she was a G. I've seen my mom beat up men and all kinds of stuff. Like for her to be a country girl, like she won't fit to be messed with either. My mama actually was like the candy lady in the neighborhood. Like my mom was everything. Like I'm just having flashbacks about my mom and her strength and stuff like that. Like that's why I'm able to still be close to my mom, even though like she's made some mistakes, because I know my mom loved me, and I know my mom sacrificed for me, and I know that even where she made mistakes, that it was because she didn't have the tools in her toolbox to deal with those situations herself, so I can forgive her. However, for my father, the reason I can't forgive my father the way I forgive my mom is because my father did not even present as a father, first of all. Like, he was very inconsistent and he was very foul. So it's kind of hard to, we don't have a foundation to go to. Whereas in me and my mom, we have a foundation. My mom has, bailed me out of a lot of situations. My mom has loved me the best way, she knew how to love me. Like, I never felt like I wasn't loved with my mom, but with my dad, I didn't feel loved at all. So, like, what's the point? We have nothing to work on. We have nothing to work for. At this point in life, so why re-traumatize myself over and over again? Whereas in my mom, I just be telling her to have a seat somewhere when she get out of her line. But family members, friends, people who are seeing abusive situations unfold, it's better to like just go ahead and take a seat back, if that person isn't ready yet. However, if like physical abuse is going on, I would say do something about that. Like, and I would say if emotional abuse is going on, give that person some resources before you back out. But yeah, like basically, my bad. My child came down here disturbing me. She better let me do these videos, so she be outside in the tent. Cause she keep playing with me. But nah, I love me and my daughter relationship. Like, I am my daughter's little friend, but definitely, teaching her boundaries. I definitely feel like our relationship became it became strained. Like, the trust that my daughter had in me throughout the beginning definitely got lost, because I was not, making sure she had a safe space. And I definitely want to say to parents, your children know when you're not happy. They know when you're not the same. I feel like when Dante passed, like one of the things that made me cry like hard was Charlotte saying, ooh, I think I like fixed her something to eat or something and was spending more time with her. She was like, she was like, oh, my mommy's back. And that like hit me. Like I had literally had dealt with so much trauma that like I had found somebody else in my body to do life. Like if there was a person that went to work, there was a person that came home and made sure that she ate. There was a person that was starting my business. There was a person that I would go out every now and then to have some fun. I would attend my groups. Sometimes I wouldn't, but like when I would go out with my sisters, I think I would be present most of those, but sometimes I wasn't, and I found somebody else to do it, and that's dissociation. Like, dissociation is real. Like, I definitely coped with dissociation, and that's why I think I have like a lot of brain fog. Like, I just could not handle that shit. Like, I could not be the forward face of the operation anymore. Even though I feel like I was the lead, I was there somewhere. I just could not be the face. It was like, get somebody else to do it. But somebody else within me. Kind of sound like multiple personality disorder now that I think about it, but I've never been diagnosed with that, but I definitely see that now, being how I definitely cope. But I'm gonna just call it dissociation, because I really don't give a shit about all these labels. What I really care about is what it means. So, like, for ADHD, I have focus problems. So now that I realize that I do have focus problems, and I kind of have that combination of a focus problem, I can zone out quick, or like I can be hyper fixated and I gotta do this, do that, and do this. So for me, it's retraining myself because at one point I had to be able to, do this, and that, and it worked. And then at one point when I was in a relationship, I definitely had to be able to like escape. But now that I'm safe and it's okay, like, I can just coast in that middle zone, and I have to retrain myself. And some of the ways I retrain myself, which is also tied to my anxiety, but like, I have started doing art again. I do adult coloring, I paint, I draw, and I'm not always good with picking these things up right when I need it, but I'm starting back to getting to that point. I write, I color, I do poetry, I do journaling. I'm trying to get my trust back with journaling, because I definitely lost my trust with journaling with my stepdad, and then I lost my trust with journaling when I lived in the house with him. I had to be careful what I wrote, because he was going to read it. So yeah, I don't think nobody really knew how I was living. There's been plenty of times where like I just wanted to, it got to the point where like I was stuck in the house. Like, I could not leave the house without someone else. So like, either I had to be with Charlotte, or I had to be with him, Charlotte, or just him and me. But I rarely got to leave the house with just me. And that's so sucking. I even remember like we got into an argument one time, and I just walked off. I don't even remember what the argument was about, but it was probably about something like he was doing, or he was being in and out. And I just remember like taking my journal and bolting in the middle of Churchill, like found a field that was open and vacant, sat down in the field, and all I wanted to do was write. I couldn't even do that. Like, I just couldn't even just sit and be and just get my thoughts and my frustrations off without it being, a problem. But yeah, like I'm struggling with mental health wise. Like, I've been working on a lot of things. Doing these videos is very freeing. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out, like, I don't have all the answers, look, and I never will. I'm just hoping that, my story helps somebody feel better, even if it's just one person. I wish I had, you know, more of these resources, like where people were doing videos. I just didn't find them, if they are out there. But I wish I did sometimes have more resources of people being authentically themselves online, because I feel like now online everybody is just showing the best, or either they're acting like it. Shit, I just found out actors, black actors at that, in Hollywood ain't really making all that money, and the way they be looking and gotten us thinking, and like even with some of these musicians and entertainers period, like the way they walk around, like we wanting to be like them and spend all that money like them. Well, I don't do it, but but most people do fall into that, and they want to keep up with the Joneses, and they ain't even doing that, you know, making that much money themselves. Like, so I just feel like transparency. We need more of it. We don't just need me, and there are other people out there. So let me say that there are other people out there. I haven't ran across a lot of them that are sharing their business. Now I ran across some, but that's that. I will say I'm having blocks because I feel like I've spilled a lot of beans about our relationship, and I think if you've been through like domestic violence, then you know, like opening up about this stuff is not easy. Definitely to people who don't know what domestic violence is and how it can be, and why, you know, people stay so long, or, you know, all that stuff. Like, so I guess like one thing I want to do right now is be transparent about, you know, I used to be abusive as well. There were times in our relationship, like I told you, like I definitely functioned off of reactive abuse. Like, I remember one time my sister was moving, and she was moving from DC, and she was coming down. So I went to help her move. He acted like he wanted to stay at home. He ain't had nothing to do. He ain't have no job, no nothing. So I was kind of pissed off that he didn't come and help move, right? Because he's a man, right? So he would do this often. We helped her move and blah, blah, blah. I come back. He sleep. And I go through his phone. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what y'all have learned from y'all relationships, but I don't do going through phones no more. Like, I don't, on the phone I'm going through is my child's, and I'm still try to respect their privacy with that. Like, but I do check hers sometimes. But as far as relationships or people I'm dating, like, your phone is your phone. That's your business. My phone is my phone. That's my business. If I can't trust you, then I can't trust you. I'm not saying that there will never be any reason why you can't use my phone or I can't use yours. It's just that I have no need to go through your phone. Like, why would I need to? Trust is trust. I should trust you. However, with him, I did not have trust for him because he would break trust over and over again. And I tell you, periodically, like, I feel like I have a sixth sense for things, and I would know when he's cheating. Like, I didn't really need the proof. Like, I would know. There was not one time that I accused him of cheating and he wasn't. Just felt it. Just knew. I was just freaky like that. But yeah, I felt like he was up to something. Like, he wanted to stay, and, you know, I needed help. Like, he was up to something. So went through his phone, and Lord and behold, he's sending pictures of parts and meeting up with a girl while I'm up there doing heavy lifting and helping my sister move. So I took the phone and I hauled that shit back and I smacked him in the face with it. And I ain't proud of it, but I just want to be transparent that he wasn't the only abusive one. Like, I definitely have to take accountability of my abusive ways. If I want God to send me somebody who's good and that is worthy, and God, put God first and all that stuff, like, I can't go in that relationship half-stepping. Like, I want to go in that relationship healed. I want to take accountability of my flaws. And in a relationship with Dante, I unlearned putting my hands on people who have not put their hands on me. I'm going to make this disclaimer here, and I'm going to make this disclaimer now. I was raised that if you put your hands on me or you try to hurt me, my mom told me I could F you up. So I'm just letting you know that now. I ain't unlearning that. That's called self-defense, and it will always be me over you if you're trying to hurt me physically. However, I had to unlearn as a woman, and I am talking to women right now, stop putting your hands on men. There are some women who can take on men. I still say, stop putting your hands on men. If a man ain't tried to hurt you, ain't tried to do nothing to you, stop putting your hands on men. Another one too is, I've never done this, but stop calling your brothers, your uncles, and all these family members to beat up this nigga, and you have started or escalated a situation. Stop doing that. Women, you don't realize the power you possess when it comes to domestic violence. I am a support of women always, number one, because I'm a woman, but I also want to call us out on our bullshit. There's a lot of men who are dying from women abusing them, and there's a lot of men who are not being heard, believe that these women are being abusive, but there are some women out here that are abusive, and it's just their nature. And I just want to encourage you to do the work you got to do to figure out, why you're behaving like this, or why you are trying to resolve conflict this way. Living with him, I definitely learned that, like, he was way stronger and way bigger than me. I did learn that, I couldn't just put my hands on him. Like, he could really, like, if he wanted to, like, he could kill me, like that. So, like, I do want to say that even though we did have violent situations, there were times where I was the aggressor physically, and then there was time where he was aggressive physically, and there was time where he was dangerously psychologically causing me to fear for my life. For example, I would start giving examples of why I left. I think I've given, like, a pretty good background of, like, we've had good times and bad times, but, like, now we get to the part where I left. I ended up leaving because I feared for my life, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat that. That's my truth. In the end, I feel like Dante wasn't Dante anymore. Whatever drugs he was on or taking, he became a whole nother being. I called it a demon because I never seen nothing like that, except for probably that time where he started walking around and pacing and all that stuff. But he definitely has started spiraling out of control. One of the things, it was one where when my sister died, that was like probably 2020. My sister died. She had a heart attack, and we had to clean, out her place and stuff like that. Well, he was so high up, he couldn't help clean up because, like, he just was on one. He was on the bench, and so, like, I had to literally do that with my nephew and his girlfriend in Charlotte. So I had to experience that by myself. So I'm already done lost my sister, and then we got to take her stuff to storage because we don't feel like going through the stuff at this point. But she was actually living in a hotel, so we had to hurry up and get her stuff out because we didn't want to lose her stuff. And yeah, like, but I did appreciate that. I felt like my sister had changed her life before she had passed, like, because my sister had went through a lot of different changes. She had hurt a lot of people, and she had been through pain herself. So I do feel like in the end she had found her peace, and I'm content with that. Whew. Then that happened. So then my brother ended up dying. It wasn't even a year apart, but it was 2021. But it wasn't even a year apart. I think she died in December, and then he died in July. He died July 11th, because that's my twin sister and brother's birthday. So he died on their birthday. He overdosed, and he was left in the car. And, you know, somebody could have saved his life by calling and getting help. Well, my brother overdosed. We go to his funeral. I could tell his funeral definitely affected Dante, because he had to get up and he went out to cry. Like, I know I was distraught. Like, he definitely, like, me and him, like, it's weird. It was like that's my favorite brother, and I felt like I was his favorite sister. But however, like, my closest brother actually is my brother I grew up with in the household. But I feel like when we met each other, like, I always clicked with him. Like, I remember the first time I met him, because my dad had kids, and that's my dad's child. My dad had us all spread apart, and, like, we really didn't grow up with each other. So I met him at one of our family reunions, and I probably was, like, real young. I was probably, like, 5 or something. Like, I was tiny. And that made me think about my great-grandma Lula. And I used to love that lady. I used to follow her around. I think about her and just smile. I love her spirit. She just had a calm, loving spirit. But, yeah, when I met him, I was like, oh, that's my brother. Like, I always remembered his face. I never forgot his face. And funny story, when I was 16, I had a Jeep Cherokee on 20s. Like, I felt cool. I love that car, but it was raggedy. But I love that car. Like, I had a Jeep Cherokee on 20s, and because the tires wasn't lifted enough, so the tires were rubbed, and I would constantly used to have to get tires replaced and stuff like that. So one time I had to go to a tire shop, and Lord and behold, my brother is there, and I hadn't seen him since I was like 5. Like, I'm telling you, like, I literally hadn't seen him since that family reunion. And I looked at him like, I'm like, Mom. I'm looking at him. I was like, I think that's my daddy's son. And she's like, huh? I was like, yeah, I think that's little Clarence. And I just went up to him and asked him, I was like, is your daddy named Clarence? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I'm your sister. And, like, you know, it was just like, ever since then, it was locked in. And we ain't never had no falling out until me and one of my other sisters with beef. And I'm going to leave that shit alone. There's just some stuff, you know, it ain't even no need of entertaining. Yeah, I don't think it's even no need of entertaining. I'm gonna let that one burn. I love her. I forgive her. I did tell her that, you know, during this funeral, and I hope, you know, she meant that shit. But, like, you know, some stuff is just you can't come back from. So, love you from a distance. Pray for you. But we did have a falling out over me and her having a falling out. And I felt like he shouldn't have took sides. I felt like he should have stayed neutral. But we did make up before he died. But I also had a lot of guilt because when he died, he called me. And I felt like, you know, I couldn't deal with his stuff that day. Like, I felt like I had my own stuff going on. And I definitely sometimes wear that guilt. I haven't given all of it to God, because sometimes I do want to be reminded of, like, I do want to be reminded that, you know, sometimes it might be your last time talking to somebody, and you just never know. So just make sure, you know, you are keeping certain connections that need to be kept. But yeah, I missed this call, and I intentionally missed this call. Like, I could have answered the phone, but mentally I just had my own stuff going on. And I would have loved to have heard his voice, talk to him one last time, all of that. But unfortunately, I would not, and I would be saying goodbye to my brother in the casket. After that happened, Dante himself OD'd. Nobody knows. I don't know if he told anybody, but I never told anybody. I just remember like him calling my name real loud. Like, he just screamed my name. Anybody who knows him, when he calling my name, like, he has this distinctive way of calling my name, and like it was times 1,000. And then I heard a thud in the bathroom. We lived in a 500 square foot apartment in Churchill. The most humbling experience ever. Like, and we made it work in that little ass space. Like, we sometimes had 2 kids. Sometimes even more, because we had kids come over and stuff with Charlotte. But sometimes it was 2 kids living there. It was 2 dogs and a cane corso at that. And us 2. So like it was really small in there. So like when he called my name real loud and then I heard thud, like it literally took me like seconds to get to the bathroom. And when I went in there, he was on the floor. And just long story short, like it was the most traumatic thing. Like I can't get that image out of my head. I would be able to bring him to by just rubbing on him and talking to him, like just telling him like don't leave me, like come back. And he ended up coming back because like he was really rigid. Like his muscles had started to like lock up, and it was convulsions, and it wasn't even like a seizure though. Like this was the weirdest like shit. It looked like he was transforming to me. I just had never seen nothing like that in my life. Ugh, it was like his skin was crawling. It was just weird. I was like, But I just still, I did not want him to go out that way. And then Charlotte was at home. It was so much. I was like this close to calling 911 because like, I had to be careful about how I call 911. Like anybody who knows, like you dating street people, like you can't call 911 for certain stuff, like, because I didn't know what he had or anything like that. But at the same token, if it came to his life and all that, like, I was gonna call. So thank God before it got to that point, I ended up getting him to come back. This nigga got his stuff together after that. Like, I'm traumatized. But he got his stuff together. He went out the house. He said he'd be right back. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, whatever. Like, I'm just still dealing with him on the floor. Like, I'm still stuck there. And he ended up coming back in the house, and he handed me Narcan. It was like, if it happens again, this how you administer it. I said, if it happened again, that was a flag. It was like, oh well, like he basically telling you like he this was just what he gonna do, and like if he do it, like you gonna have to save his life again. So like that was one of the things I was like, no, God, I do not want to stay here. And these was just things that made me feel uncomfortable. These ain't even things that made me feel like my life was in threatened. This just made me feel like immensely like this is not the life I want to live. Then shortly after that, I told him he couldn't, do stuff in the house anymore, like, because in the past, like, that had never happened. And he was a functional user, so like I didn't have to worry about stuff like that. Even though I did though, like I always worried like that I was gonna go in the bathroom and he was gonna be dead or something. Like I did, but I think about these things and I think about how horrible of a mother I was. like I said, I allow Charlotte to verbalize how she feels. So we have worked through these things together, but still, I just think about how much I put a man before my child and myself. And you know, that hurts. Like, I haven't completely healed over that. Like, but I'm doing the work, and I can verbalize it, and I can admit it, and I can say that it does hurt me that, you know, I just never thought I would be that person. And I'm giving myself grace on things. Like, yes, I was that person, and you know, I can't go back and change anything. And I also look back and see that I was one hell of a mother, because even when I was not able to do for myself, I always made sure my child had. I always made sure my child was doing something. I always made sure I raised my child. Like, my child was not disrespectful to other adults and people. She might have a little mouth on her, and she might tell you how she feels and say it how it is, but she never was like blatantly disrespectful. Like, I raised a good child. But I did make some mistakes, and I allow her to verbalize that to me. That helps me tell you this today. So, yeah, but she did not see that, however, and I thank God she didn't. She didn't even know he was on drugs until basically we left. I think it was like when we left, she probably heard conversations about him being on drugs, and then after he passed, like, it really like set in her head like that he struggled with drug issues. However, far as his cause of death, far as religious purposes, his religion does not do autopsies. So we do not know how he died, and we're not gonna label he died from that. We don't know. He could have died from being sick, or anything. We don't know. So I do want to respect him and his family. Like, let's not just jump to conclusions and feel like, you know, he died because of that. This is just my recounts from what I was going through, and why I left. He got so paranoid. No, let me go back to he had to stop using in the house. All right, this is going to be, I think, a 4-part. So I'm going to stop here and start over.